Hi, everybody. I would love to welcome Kyle Draving to this episode. Kyle is one of our software developers at Phison, and I will be speaking with him about new AI technologies. Welcome to the show, Kyle. Would you mind telling us
Hey,
a little bit about yourself?
yeah. So I'm currently part of the professional services team here at Phison Tech. I'd say I dabble in all things technology, but my strong suit has primarily been front-end web development. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you. So, like I said, we will be discussing different AI technologies, uses, challenges, and fears coming in with those, especially in the development and design space. So, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are when it comes to ChatGPT. Do you have any thoughts, like what excites you most about it, or are there any, fears about it? Anything like that come to mind?
Oh, of course. Fears and excitements. I currently I'm having a great time with it, learning new uh frameworks and libraries. In my field work, there's countless technologies and even more coming out, uh, even uh, very recently. Um,
Awesome. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, plenty of things to talk about as far as, you know, fears and how to use it and excitement about it.
Cool. Now, I know you said that you've used it to learn new frameworks, things like that. How do you envision using it when it comes to your day-to-day software development work?
Um, just like that, I use it kind of as a starting point to begin development.
Mhm.
If there's some new feature technology our project needs, I can easily kind of get a quick rundown of uh, what would work for said feature. Um, it helps with all these user syntax errors,
Yeah.
debugging. Um, a lot of these or a lot of these errors can be very cryptic, and you can just pop it in there. I use it a lot like I used Google in the past, except it's faster. I can it's it's way faster, more direct to what I need. I don't have to go through age-old form posts or Stack Overflows that are just close to being relevant to what I need, but not quite there.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. And what tasks or workflows do you think that AI chatbots can automate or assist with that would free you up for more strategic work?
I mean, same thing, just the quick I have an error, I pop in the code, it kind of can quickly diagnose what's going on. Um, that definitely speeds up my workflow. I mean, even if it's just missing a semicolon, little errors like that, they're just easy to miss. Um, the automation part of it, it's not necessarily, I wouldn't say it automates anything. It really
Mhm.
just frees up my time to be more focusing on design or the specific implementation. I don't have to worry about, getting the syntax correctly or like
Gotcha.
perfect or
So
worrying
you
about,
already
yeah.
have kind of the building blocks in your own skill set. You more so use it as a secondary resource to check on any errors that you've gotten in the code or things of that nature.
Yes, exactly. It, it I tell it like I'm driving this thing. It's
Mhm.
not it's not telling me exactly what to do. I have to tell it what to do, and it will, spit out helpful things, but I still have to direct it to get exactly what I need. If I have no idea what I want, there's no way of using this to just automate development.
That makes sense. Okay. And do you anticipate any challenges or have you encountered any challenges in integrating, AI technology into your existing workflows?
I don't know if I'd say challenges. I basically have used it as like a full replacement of other search engines like Google and Bing and even Reddit or Stack Overflow. The the challenge is, am I too reliant on it? Is
Okay, that's
this
fair. That's fair.
it's like uh I I always have that thought in the back of my head, like, am I doing the due diligence needed to implement this the best uh way out there, I guess. It spits out an
Hmm.
answer and then you're like, should I ask it a different prompt or should I ask it, is this the business standard? Like
Right,
the
right.
the the current chat GPT is like a record of all the internet from uh what, 2017. So is it all out of date? Like, should
Hmm.
I be doing more research and figuring out, um is this the correct way to do this? Is there a faster way of doing this? This is one way, but and this would make it simple, but am I relying on it too much? Am I just copy and pasting what it's telling me to do from 2017?
So it all comes down to, are you asking the right questions, and or are the questions worded in a way that an AI bot will understand and give you the correct response? And those types of questions kind of come into play. But you also, have the question of, what if it gets shut down? Am I still going to be able to complete my work in the correct way? And I feel like that is where people who maybe don't have the software development background like yourself and have been solely reliant on an AI chatbot might run into some issues. If it were to get shut down, or if it's no longer able to process the data for whatever reason, server wise, are we becoming too reliant on these chatbots to solve everyday problems that we ourselves can do, but want to speed up and make more efficient?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like, if this it, it I'm in a bad state. If this turns off tomorrow, am I dead in the water? I would like to
Right.
say no. I have like a decade of experience working with Google to figure out my problems,
Yes.
as do many other developers. But it would be a big bummer. You just have to think of it as a tool. Like,
Yes, it's a tool. It's not the device itself that, it's not the designer, you are.
exactly. It's it's a tool. The best developers can use it the best way.
Hmm. That makes sense. Okay. In terms of, working on a team, I know that there's several other developers here at Phison. Has working with these chatbots, as a tool, has it changed collaboration for you? Has it made it easier, more difficult, or has it pretty much stayed the same in terms of collaborating with the other developers on the team?
I'd say it's has stayed the same
Okay.
primarily. Um, what I envision, maybe other areas, there'd be less like going to people's desks and being like, "Hey, I need help with something," or "Can you take a look at this? Is there an error?" Um, Currently, all my collaboration comes at like the do we need this feature? Do we like this design kind of thing? I very rarely have just straight up, as far as web development and
Hmm.
apps. There's been, of course, some professional software that other clients need, and I can get a lot of collaborative help from others at Tech. But for primarily, um, web development and web app development, it's been the same. I
Okay.
don't see, I've never just gone up to Well, I work fully remote, but I haven't gone up to somebody's desk as I envision other offices and just like, hey, I
Right.
need you to look at this, or what do you see here?
So the landscape in person might be slightly different as a result, but due to most of the team being remote, you're not necessarily seeing that difference.
Yeah, and with the errors and problems I encounter, you just need so much context around it. It's such a building block. It would be like showing showing somebody one piece of the puzzle and be like, "Hey, can
Hmm.
you help me?"
That makes
It's like,
sense.
oh, wait.
Okay, okay. Well, cool, cool. So I know we talked a little bit about, the concerns about over reliance on AI for tasks. Where do you see the line between beneficial assistance from AI versus full replacement of developers? And do you encounter, seeing that in the future? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, I'd say there needs to be a balance. You don't want to mindlessly just write prompts and take everything it gives you at face value. And frankly, that's just not possible currently. These chatbots can guide you on the steps one would need and like break down each step. If you were to give it some crazy general prompt like create a mobile app for runners, but it just can't do that for you.
Hmm.
Any business planning on like fully replacing developers with AI chatbots will be laughed at.
Yeah.
It, like I said, AI chatbots can be seen as a tool, and the the best developers, the ones that get the big bucks, are going to be the best at using it too. Like it I think we're really far away from developers and even designers being fully replaced by these chatbots. Like the higher ups aren't. Uh, I don't see the higher ups, the CEOs, the people that employ these people to be able to fully replace them by putting in prompts themselves and developing
Right.
a software app.
Because they're not
Is
going to know the right questions to ask. Yeah,
ex
that
yes,
makes
yes.
sense. And not only that, but I think, something that you touched on earlier with it being a tool and you are the designer of the code, is that AI just doesn't have the ability to design something exactly as you might envision it, because I feel like it would just be repeated templates. If people were trying to use it for the design aspect, everything would look virtually the same because they don't have that humanistic characteristic where they can actually differentiate between different design, like fonts and backgrounds and things like of that nature. I don't know if it can ever get to that point.
I
I hope
Yeah,
not, at least.
I agree. I don't I don't think it's going to be possible. And by the time it is, all developers are going to have a different role. Like they've like what has happened in the past too. Like you I don't know, my back in the day my dad was talking about using like cards in a computer. Like that
Hmm.
has completely changed. It'll change in the future as well. Maybe developers are primarily just driving the AI to be able to create the running app or whatever.
Hmm.
It, it, I we're so far away from uh just developers being replaced in general. Um, I don't know if that's true for everything though. Like I could definitely see um this replacing some of the more simpler jobs, maybe if basic websites, really basic,
Hmm.
straightforward apps. Um, the art AI has gotten decent, so like
Terrifying,
images look.
actually. I've seen some very terrifying, deep fake AI stuff, which obviously we will not be getting into, but
Yes,
that kind of thing, it's wild to me that they are able to actually like just create something so realistic from a prompt.
I know. It is terrifying, and I do see that kind of taking over certain jobs, but I mean, developers created this thing.
Hmm.
They're gonna need developers to maintain it, and
Right. There will always be jobs for developers.
Yeah, even if the role changes.
Absolutely.
I mean, to be the best developer and to be like good in your field, you have to adapt.
And that actually leads me into my next question. How might your role as a software developer need to adapt as these technologies become more prevalent? And do you foresee the need for new skills as this technology gets more popular?
Yeah, uh with anything technology related, you're always gonna need new skills.
Hmm.
Um, you have to if this becomes the business standard, like if you're being pushed to use this thing because it can make your work more efficient and faster. Um, right now that's not the case with like bigger IT companies like Apple and Google. I've heard of it being straight banned for
Hmm.
security reasons. Foresee new skills needed, like can you write quick, clear prompts and get exactly the information you need, but then
Hmm.
can you take those prompts and see past it to make it use the highest business standards and kind of filter what's important, what's not, because this could give you way more information, and then it could give you
Not
less,
enough.
not
Right.
enough.
Right.
Yeah, and you
Okay.
have to decipher that for yourself. I've had plenty of times where it looks cut and dry, like just take this snippet of code and it'll work. It absolutely does not work, and it might not even be. It might work for what it thought I needed, but it's not what I needed. So
And that's why having the foundation that you have, with 10 years of experience is so necessary, if you're utilizing these AI chatbots as a tool, really remembering, all of the foundational pieces, because at the end of the day, like we said, if these were to, go off the grid or whatever, you need to be able to still utilize your own reasoning and your own knowledge to get the work done.
yeah, no, I agree.
So I would love to hear some of the risks or downsides that you see with developers relying too much on AI chatbots.
I think we touched on this a little bit, but the risks and downsides is just are are you soaking in anything when you're getting these responses, when you're writing prompts? You don't want to be fully reliant on it. You want to have the skills without this thing.
Hmm.
Y- You also can actively learn from it too by uh, kind of pushing yourself past just copy and paste and really trying to understand uh, what it what it is doing to complete your task.
Hmm.
Um, the other yeah, the other downsides would just be like, are are you still a developer without it? If you're
Right.
not, then you're not a developer.
Hmm. You're an AI chatbot utilizer.
You're 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 an AI chatbot utilizer, and you'll run into constant problems trying to maintain the code, trying to scale it up. it it won't be good code if you don't have that context of um, what should be used and what is the business standard and what uh, has worked in the past for you. You have the experience to see through um, it's very template, straightforward code.
That's a fair point. Okay. Um, and I guess one of my next questions would be, as they become more prevalent, how can teams thoughtfully implement these chatbots into, their operating procedure? If you were to kind of take your team that you work with and say, okay, guys, we're going to come up with a standard operating procedure. like how would you make sure that the team was using it appropriately and not, I guess, abusing the ability to use these tools?
I I foresee that there'd be some kind of enterprise version of this thing. There might already be, but it's like connected to the business in a way that it like keeps a log of all your employees' prompts,
Huh. Yeah.
so to keep it secure, and then also just it'd be very transparent of like what people are using it for. If it looks too basic, maybe you have to have a talk with them and be like, are you are you not getting this stuff? Or especially if you're putting any uh keys or secrets in it, as long as there's just a very transparent log of what everybody's putting in, there's known rules and guidelines. I think it's a great tool, but you definitely have to use discretion when
Hmm.
you can't just use it willy-nilly. You have to use it very deliberate, and you got to know you can't just take the entire code repository and pop it in there. There's going to
Yeah.
be stuff you need to hide.
And I can imagine that a lot of companies, as this does become more prevalent, will have to work in some type of policy and procedure into their handbooks regarding the use of chatbot AI. Uh,
Agreed.
a lot of employees use it. I personally have utilized, ChatGPT just to kind of reword something. If I'm like, this doesn't sound right, can you help me make this sound better from a marketing perspective? And I do feel like there will have to be guidelines down the road when it comes to, corporate policies for different
Hmm.
companies, especially those, Fortune 500 companies where they, are probably quite strict with the branding and content that goes out. So, I definitely think that if it hasn't already been implemented, will definitely have to be added into, different handbooks and corporate policy.
Yeah, because it is AI is a living, breathing thing. So it's free because it's actually learning from your prompts too.
Hmm.
It's taking it. The hardest thing for AI is right now is to get correct data. Like they're always searching for more data that they can feed this, so it it learns more, it learns faster, it gets stronger.
Yeah, yeah. You just keep feeding it.
Yeah.
It's turning into the Loch Ness monster.
Exactly. It's just getting bigger and uh as you feed it more and more. Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of, coming back to what I was mentioning about, companies having to eventually implement this into their guidebooks, do you think from an ethical perspective, there are certain responsibilities that software developers will have when leveraging and integrating AI technologies? And how do you foresee this affecting the landscape?
Uh yeah, like ethically, y- it's the same thing as not what's the HIPAA.
Hmm.
You don't want to be putting in anybody else's personal information or too much data from your project. Like I said, it's like a recorder. It records things. So ethical responsibilities towards this thing would be don't feed it sensitive data. Don't
Hmm. Hmm.
and yeah, I mean that's the gist of it. Like and listen to the guidelines from your company of what you can and can't do with it, because it's going to be the company's responsibility to let the developers know. Like I think, or currently with the bigger IT companies just straight banning it, I don't think that's the proper way to do it.
Hmm.
Um, I think people will probably without those proper guidelines, you're just setting yourself up for risk of somebody that's, working from home and jaded, and they can now use it or use it on their phone or something.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
you're not really
It's hard to enforce.
It's really hard to enforce. Just banning it and making it so that person's company computer can't access it is not, in my opinion, not the best way of um uh what would I say? Policing it, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. And one thing that I touched on a little bit, but, as a non-software developer myself, like I said, I've used it several times just to kind of spice up marketing material that I've written or things of that nature. And sometimes Chat GPT will say, these things may not be accurate, or
Hmm.
Chat GPT cannot open or read links. And so if people aren't necessarily understanding that aspect and they're still relying on it for things of that nature, that can lead to misinformation, and that is a whole nother issue that one can come across with overutilizing and almost depending on these types of AI chatbots, is that they are not fact checking because they think that AI knows everything, so there's no need to fact check against an AI chatbot.
That's true. That's a whole other realm I missed of, you know, incorrect data.
Yeah, yeah. And
Misinformation. You just like with anything on the internet, right? You
exactly,
want
you
to,
have to you have to proofread or fact check and check sources, and
yes, 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 yes.
people will just that a lot of people fall victim to this. They'll read a news article and assume that that is all fact. Everything is objective online, and so I think you have to remember that, especially when using something like AI chatbots.
I agree 100%.
So how do you feel about the idea that AI chatbots could someday replace many tasks done by human coders? I know we talked about this a little bit at the beginning, but do you foresee that happening in like the next like 50 years, or do you think you'll be retired by the time that what would happen?
Um, Next 50 years, that's a long time. I definitely see some of the like said, the the role of developer will change
Hmm.
as it always has. Um, I think it will definitely replace many tasks done by human coders. They'll make it more automated to, you know, it'll create like full boilerplates for things, but can you really remove the design and feature aspects? There's always got to be somebody driving this thing
Right.
that I
Yeah.
I truly believe.
And
It's
again, knowing the right questions to ask, the right prompts, and being able to digest the information. I feel like that's the human aspect that can really never be taken away.
yeah, I just I don't know, maybe I'm naive, but I don't think somebody's going to be able to put in the prompt, like create a software business and make me good software.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever envision, because I've thought about this a little bit, a company creating their own AI software, where this software is completely based around all of their guidelines and their branding, and then utilizing that to code because it
As a
has the
business?
repositories of all of that? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that happening. It
And do you think that would be a good thing? Or because I feel like I have a hard time wrapping my head around that, because it would be, fully all encompassing of the code repositories. But I don't know, because I know it's possible. I'm sure companies have already started that kind of thing, but I don't know how they plan to continually utilize it and, possibly take away the roles of the coders without having coders monitoring it. You know what I mean?
yeah, I like I said, there has to be somebody at the wheel of
Hmm.
this thing. You could have all your code in one place and you could have AI to uh it's being fed all the possible data, and you still have to be able to tell it what to do. You can't fully replace
Hmm.
developers. Um, I don't know. I don't even think we're there yet that a business can be fully functional just fully reliant on an AI that they've created either.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's going to be developers maintaining the AI and constantly making it smarter,
Mm-hmm.
but those people aren't being replaced. So the
Right,
people
right.
the role the tasks might be being replaced, like the monotonous routinely tasks but that's great. That's always happened. I think
Mm-hmm.
you always want to streamline and put in better processes. So yeah, it doesn't really scare me.
Well, good, good. That's a really helpful perspective because I know for me, I'm not a doomsdayer per se, but I do overthink things. And,
Yeah.
I've seen lots of movies where robots take over, and I'm like, ooh, this is a little bit veering on that side of things, but it's reassuring to hear that at the very least, like they still have to be run by humans and implemented by them to function, so they can't replace us completely.
I've heard that some people don't even think uh, they just see ChatGPT as like a glorified recording of the entire internet, and it
Hmm.
can take those multiple relevant data points and just combine them. It's not creating anything new.
Yes, it's
It's
it's all already information that's out there. It's just consuming it and then regurgitating it to us.
yeah. Would you say that's intelligent, or just another piece of software?
And
It's hard
that's,
to
I
say.
feel like, where a lot of people might be on different opinions when it comes to AI.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't. We're definitely not there at the seeing the Terminator anytime soon.
Well, that makes me feel better. Well, this has been really great, Kyle. I've enjoyed speaking with you about
Yeah, same.
all of these
It's been fun.
scenarios for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share, or anything else that you wanted to chat about that we didn't get the chance to?
No, I thought my final thoughts was actually that last point about
No
uh
Terminator.
that it's maybe not even intelligent. It might not be really learning anything. It's taking all of this data and just combining it. It's not
Hmm.
creating anything new. It doesn't have a conscious, you know.
Yeah.
Of
Yep.
course.
Yep. Well,
So
thank you so much for sharing your perspective and thoughts on that. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I feel like our listeners will definitely learn a lot when it comes to how you implement AI in your daily life as a software developer, and how maybe it's not as terrifying as we think it is because we almost put too much power into the eyes of it.
yeah, I hope so. Thank you.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks again for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing all of the developing that you continue to do at Phison.
Fantastic. All right.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle.